sometimes I use that as well as a writing tool. So if I've interviewed friends and they've sort of revealed something a bit that implicates them. So for example, the trading on sexual collateral stuff in the surf. I wouldn't ever put one of my friends in a position where they say they do that. Instead, I'll take on that role myself and say, the other day I went surfing and I just wore a bikini so I could see what happened and how the guys responded to that. I don't really do that sort of thing, but you know, it comes across as having done that. So sometimes it's really useful to write in the first person, and I do it a lot in order to get people to feel something or understand or implicate myself in it rather than other people. But I try not to just put not thought through opinion on there. Like everything I put on there is pretty much thought through. I don't post in a fit of rage or anything like that, generally.
How does it tie in with your PhD? What are you doing, and where does the blog come into that?
Yes, my PhD is about the experiences of women in surfing culture, which is very male-dominated. So it's a gender and cultural studies project about surfing culture in Byron Bay, specifically. So the blog I started using as a place to create a set of resources for that research, because it's cultural studies, so I wanted to use lots of websites and films and writing and all sorts of things. So it was a repository for that. I wanted to create a resource for other women or people interested in women's experiences of surfing, so that they could come to a place and find all these things that I hadn't found in other places, you know, not just mainstream magazine articles and things like that that are then completely negotiated by industry and advertising, but by small scale things that are happening on other websites. Then what I found really interesting was the way that when I wrote, people responded back to it and didn't challenge me in saying you're wrong, but expanded or offered new anecdotes and new stories, and it helped me develop my thinking. And a specific example of that is I wrote about a post ages ago called Boyfriends Who Surf, and it was about my female friends who have male partners who don't surf, and which is a rarity, I find, and was saying, oh, most women, you know, their partners do surf and they understand these women better, but then it creates these other things. And the comments I got back were, oh no, my husband doesn't surf, and that's great because I get 2 more. But the other thing it revealed to me was that I was being really heteronormative, so I hadn't even considered the idea of like lesbian relationships and how that would play out in the surf. So by writing, it made me think through the ideas even more deeply, because it revealed to me my own assumptions and prejudices, both through the comments and then through reading back with my theoretical mind.
That's fantastic. So the comments that you get, just generally advice, how would one respond to negative and positive, or deal with? What's some advice that you give?
With positive feedback, I thank people, and because you know, it's mostly people don't, you know, you find always going to get more critique than positive stuff. I found the opposite. I get more positives than negative, but I always thank them for engaging with it, and I appreciate it hugely. It's always useful and helpful, and you always learn something from it. So I thank people, and whether they read that comment back or not, I don't know, but I feel good about doing that. I don't go on and on about it. I don't like to comment too much on my own posts, but I'll respond. Negative feedback on my blog, I haven't had a lot. If it's and maybe often it's more if it's critical feedback, if it's critical critique that's engaged, absolutely engage with that. If it's through in a respectful way. What I won't engage with is personal attacks. And so if someone says you're a moron or you're an idiot, I'm not going to respond to that. I don't think it's potentially going to get you in a slinging match. And I've had those, and they got frustrated with me because I wouldn't engage with. I would engage with any critical feedback they gave me, but once it turned to saying, "Oh, you're an idiot," and this wasn't on my blog, I just stopped, because it's pointless, and you'll lose sleep over it, and it's hurtful, and often it's done in an anonymous way, and you're not going to get anywhere. So if someone does that, it's name calling, and it's just walk away. We're all grown ups, we're adults, so you don't have to engage with it. And I really would say, don't.
Great. So, how long has the blog been running for now?
I started in 2006 with my honours research, and then I kicked it off again, I think at the end of 2007 or 2008, so it's been going for a while.
So what benefits have come from having this blog, seeing as it is, 5 or more years old now?
Yeah.
What benefits in the non-cyber world have come to you almost as a spin-off or result of the blog?
My writing's improved out of this world. Definitely, it's improved my writing. Like, I go back to the earlier stuff and I can see a self-conscious plunky sort of voice that, it's the beginning of something, and now I find writing much easier. So that's been wonderful, and something that other close friends of mine have noticed too and commented on. I've been invited to write essays for art exhibitions, for catalogues. I've been invited to contribute to other surfing magazines. I've been invited to speak in different spaces. So in a way, it's created an identity for me within surfing culture. It's an identity that sometimes I'm a bit uncomfortable with. I think, how did I become this person, But it becomes self-perpetuating in a way. It's just, I've met friends through it. Because it's pushed me to constantly engage with the online surfing world, I've just discovered so many films and other writers and people and perspectives that I would never have pushed myself to look for. My knowledge of surfing culture in terms of my research has just grown so much. It has been the most delightful thing.
And what recently you went to Sydney, and I believe you're going to America. Is that related to people hearing and knowing about your blog?
Sydney is, yeah. I've been speaking at the Surf City exhibitions, which has been great, at the Museum of Sydney, and it's a great exhibition, and you should check it out. That was, the curator found my blog, and that's how that sort of kicked off. The trips to the States are with my research, they're conferences, but they're going to places where I've got strong connections with a couple of other bloggers, so I'm going to go meet them, which is so exciting, and they're so excited too, and it sounds so dorky when you put it like that, really.
But it's wonderful to see a cyber world partnering up with reality of meeting the neighbours.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
make friends in cyberspace and then meet them.
Yeah. I mean, we've exchanged so many emails and so many posts, and we've supported each other completely through our different websites. And I mean, in the end, these relationships are far from virtual. They transcend the online space, and this blog for me has become a big part of who I am and the work I do. And I could never have imagined when I started this what it would become, and how fulfilling an experience it's become. It's been really hard, and sometimes, life goes up and down, and it's sometimes really hard to write. But on the other hand, it's been good because it's a space that I now feel not obligated or beholden to, but I feel a responsibility to. And because I love it so much and I want to see it continue, I don't know about indefinitely, but for the moment, I need to invest in it, and that means writing or engaging or publishing something and keeping it ticking over. And so that's it's helped me through, times that haven't been particularly productive. So I've just found it a delightful experience.
And as far as your followers or partner bloggers go, what's an average day of people following what you're writing?
It completely depends. On a really slow day when I haven't posted for weeks, I'll get like 30 people. And on a day when I've been publishing and I've promoted it, and I'll get, 150, 160. So it's still quite, in terms of the blogosphere, it's still quite small. It's not getting 50,
but it's probably
60,000.
Quality.
It's a day, yeah. And I'm not a big self-promoter in terms of the blog. And also there's website staff ask me to write for them, and it would certainly give me a lot more hits to my website, but I think that's not what my website's about. And I can constantly question myself in terms of what is this little blog about, and what I want it to be, and what I want it to be in my life. And I want to retain control over it, and I really want it to continue the way it is. And people who really have enjoyed my site just have a big affection for it, even more than I do, I think, which is so sweet. So yeah, I could certainly grow it if I wished, but I don't know what that would mean And maybe if I wasn't doing a PhD and had other things going on, then maybe that would be something I would certainly chase up. But right now, I've got all this other stuff going on, and